This week on Unscripted, NXT making changes to several NXT stars. Plus, the real reason NXT TAKEOVER UK is happening on the same day as Royal Quest and All Out. And former WWE star compares WWE to prison. This and more this week right here on Unscripted episode 73 for June 8, 2019. What is going on, everybody? It's the France, and we're here for Unscripted episode number 73 for June 8th, 2019. One day after Sweet Saturday Money, take 3. We have this weekend ready to go with Dominion coming up for New Japan. We have the Road to Fighter Fest, which started with All Elite Wrestling, and just some general news coming out. We had Talk is Jericho this week with Dustin Rhodes. We have some of that, as well as Dustin Rhodes' transcript from when he talked to Kenny McIntosh after he talked to Kenny McIntosh after Double or Nothing, and the fact that he compared leaving WWE to prison, which is kind of funny. If you're like me, I did not watch Super Showdown. Super Showdown was an absolute joke. It was a glorified house show. And honestly, from looking on social media, most of the matches you saw at this show are going to be at Stomping Grounds. You have Kofi Kingston versus Dolph Ziggler in a steel cage match, Baron Corbin versus Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre. You have Alexa Bliss versus Bayley, which we'll tap on that for a second. And for some reason, Lacey Evans getting another title shot against Becky Lynch. Who did Lacey Evans have to sleep with to get that title shot, for crying out loud? The woman lost clean at Money in the Bank. It's not like Charlotte, who got taken advantage of due to what happened during her match in the aftermath, but she lost clean in the middle of the ring. Even though I know, yes, the referee fucked up, but even though I'm sure Becky was going to kick at it too, she still lost clean, tapping out quite quickly to disarm her. As we usually do every single week, we're going Raw and SmackDown, things that, happened on this show. First thing on Monday Night Raw, of course, I didn't watch NXT this week, but I know Kona Reeves lost to Keith Lee, and BAM beat Bianca Belair, so there's that for you. Nothing else, it was just the usual recap show after a takeover. Next week they did not tape NXT this week, by the way. Next week, I looked up because I wanted to know when they were going to be taping, if it was this week or next week. Next week, Wednesday and Thursday of next week, NXT is going to be at Full Sail taping 8 episodes of NXT. They are going to be taping for the rest of June, all of July, and the beginning of August for NXT TakeOver Toronto. So we will know the entire card. To anybody who actually looks at spoilers, you will know the entire card to NXT TakeOver Toronto either Wednesday or Thursday if you look at the spoilers. So there's that, and that's why I know for a fact NXT did tape an episode of NXT somewhere else. I think it was in California, or it was on one of the tours they did last week or 2 weeks ago. That was going to be for a stopgap, so that's exactly what's going on there. But moving on, we have another bait and switch on Raw, where last weekend, Stephanie McMahon pretty much condemned Brock Lesnar for not cashing in, promising to cash in, and he didn't. So Paul Heyman's like, oh, well, she wants to take action against us. We're going to cash in on Monday. Corey Graves comes out on social media that night and is like, so you're condemning the Money in the Bank briefcase holder for doing exactly what he said, what the contract entails, where he can decide whenever, I'm paraphrasing, of course, whenever he can cash in whenever, wherever, and does not have to give the champion notice. So they promised they were going to come out. Brock Lesnar brutalizes Seth Rollins And instead of cashing in like a smart person would with an F5, a couple of suplexes, chair shot after chair shot after chair shot, beating him with the briefcase, it looked like Brock Lesnar was going to be your Universal Champion going into Super Showdown. He did not do that. Looking on social media, Brock Lesnar looks like a fucking idiot. This guy goes out there, beats the hell out of Seth Rollins, beats him to pretty much near death, that he had to be stretchered out, and people were saying, oh, Seth wasn't going to Super Showdown, so they were going to write him off and pretty much make him relinquish the title and give it to Brock so Brock could walk out with both championships. Anybody who thought that, you look like a fucking idiot, but Brock Lesnar looks like an even bigger idiot. He goes out there on Monday, beats up Seth Rollins, does not cash in. I think even CM Punk, who cashed in on two guys who just went through grueling matches, would have cashed in at that time. Edge would have did the same thing. Brock Lesnar is not the ultimate opportunist. He is the ultimate idiot. Goes out there, beats him up, and is like, you know what? Friday. Monday Night Raw is not worth it. I'm going to Jeddah. I'm going to Saudi Arabia. And I'm going to cash in and win the Universal title there. What happened in Jeddah? I didn't watch it, but my dad explained it to me that Paul Heyman slipped on the mat, and the Money in the Bank briefcase ended up in the middle of the ring. Low blow by Seth Rollins. Chair shot after chair shot after chair shot, and he leaves before the cash-in could happen. So, that's that. Another thing happening on this show was the Firefly Funhouse. Firefly Funhouse was interesting. You had Huskus the Pig Boy, which was a take on Husky Harris, which was an awful gimmick and wasn't going to go anywhere. But the door opens and there's a Vince McMahon puppet. But this puppet is not just any Vince McMahon puppet. It depicts Vince McMahon as the devil. And I'm like, holy shit, that is hilarious. And that's what we got to see. So they did the Muscle Man fitness thing, which is interesting. It was just him poking fun at his old gimmick, which Bray Wyatt is the best thing on Monday Night Raw. It still continues to carry this entire show. What's going to happen next week? Who knows? Was he in the Battle Royal? From what I've heard, no, he was not. So Bray Wyatt still missing in action when it comes to actual wrestling. But honestly, you got to get him in the ring eventually. It's great stuff. It's still good stuff. It's not the same thing over and over and over again. It's different segments every time. But eventually, we got to see what the gimmick does outside of just a video package. We need to see what he does in the ring, what he does in a live audience. We'll have to wait and see. And then WWE did the one thing I figured they were going to do to try and keep the ratings up. And the first time in probably 2 or 3 years, the third hour of Raw was the highest rated part of Raw this week. Don't let that be like, oh, it's working, WWE's ratings are coming back up. No, it was a one-time thing because people foolishly still cheer or still want to see what The Undertaker's going to do. WWE messed up so badly with time this week that The Undertaker got through half of his promo before USA Network hit the kill switch and switched to their programming because WWE has been mandated since I believe midway through August that they cannot go over 11 o'clock anymore. And you gotta think, if it was a normal superstar or something, they would be out there at half the time The Undertaker would. But The Undertaker's gimmick is, he goes out, you hear the gong goes off, you wait a few seconds, he shows up, and he slowly walks to the ring. He didn't get to the ring till there was about a minute and a half, maybe a minute and a half to 2 minutes left in the show. Cuts this long promo that he did not need to do, and he got cut off. It was just a hard cut. They went to a thing for, what was it, Queen of the South? Yeah. WWE just did not go well there. They thought, well, this was awesome and it worked for them. Let's do the same thing the next night for Goldberg. Goldberg did not show up on SmackDown till it was time, like the show was almost over. He got a lot of extra time than The Undertaker did, and by the time the segment was over, there was 5 minutes left in the show. So you had Tom Phillips and Corey Graves and Byron Saxton sitting there recapping what we're going to see at Super Showdown, plus things that happened earlier in the show. So Monday Night Raw, yes, had a better rating. Yes, the third hour was the best it's going to probably ever be. Here's the thing. This coming Monday Night Raw is going to be hard for WWE to try and get a good rating. Why do I say that? Well, the Toronto Raptors are up 2-1 on the Golden State Warriors. They are going to have to at least go to a game 5. Now, Golden State and them, I'm recording this before that game goes on the air, so I don't know what the actual result is. If that game goes to Golden State and they're both teams are tied 2-2, Monday Night Raw is going to be facing up against a game 5 with the winner most likely becoming this year's NBA champions. So they got to come up with good stuff for a show. So I would not be surprised if the Undertaker or Goldberg or somebody else shows up on this show to try and keep people in. Like Vince McMahon's got to hope and pray the Golden State Warriors lose game 4, so when it gets to game 5, people aren't going to be as invested. But if it's 2-2 going back to Toronto, WWE is going to be in trouble on Monday, and it's probably going to be one of the lowest rated non-football episodes of Monday Night Raw. And another thing, these little rating bump ups are not going to help WWE in the long run. Football season will be here in no time. No time. And WWE is just hemorrhaging ratings left and right. It's not something where it's like they're having huge numbers go up. They might go up a percentage. If they have ratings go up, it's like a percentage. But when they drop, it's like 14% or like 12% or something like that. That's not good for WWE. So yes, WWE can say, hey, we had a victory. We had Undertaker on SmackDown on Monday Night Raw, and the ratings went up on the third hour. Which, by the way, the ratings on the third hour are almost always terrible. As we get closer to football season, and when we get to football season and WWE goes into that lull, like they did last year, where the ratings just continued to spiral out of control, and for like 6 weeks in a row, they went to the worst ratings of like in WWE's and Monday Night Raw's history. Prepare for that this year, and much, much worse. SmackDown Live, we had video packages for days. The first segment was Dolph Ziggler and Kofi Kingston. And we had 4 video packages. The first one I have no problem with. It was Kofi's going back to Ghana. Not a problem. Not a problem whatever. Dolph interrupts them talking about that. And then you see video package, they talk a little bit. Video package, they talk a little bit. Video package. And it's like, God damn, we don't need this many video packages. Half of the show was video packages, video packages, video packages. It's absolutely ridiculous. Also, Raw Superstar will be facing Bayley at Stomping Grounds, as Alexa Bliss was here for the moment of Bliss segment, and she had Bayley on there. And obviously, Alexa Bliss was not just going over there to have an interview segment with Bayley. You had Carmella come out, and then you had Charlotte come out and say, well, Shane McMahon said that there's going to be a triple threat match with the winner facing Bayley at Stomping Grounds. I full-heartedly thought that Charlotte Flair was going to win this match, go to Stomping Grounds, and win her 10th Women's Championship. I was wrong. That's probably going to happen at SummerSlam because that's a much bigger venue for a 10th time. Yeah, being 9 times not a big deal. 11 time, 12 time not as big, but the 10th time is like a milestone. WWE is going to do everything they can to get Charlotte Flair to 17 between this time by the time we get to this time next year. I fully expect her to be a 13 or 14 time women's champion. Titles don't mean anything when they're just flopping around like that. And WWE, as I said, because Undertaker got the ratings up, they booked Goldberg to be the last segment of SmackDown this week. It didn't work. SmackDown's ratings actually dropped going into Super Showdown. And I blame that on the fact that half the show was a video package for something or one thing or another. You're really going to be boring wrestling fans if you just come out and say, well, we're just going to do video packages galore. We're going to have 4 video packages within the first 20 minutes. And that's what we got. We got 4 video packages in the first 20 minutes on a segment that really didn't need to go anywhere. And the match at Super Showdown, from what I hear, was kind of a waste of time. I am taping this about 7, 8 o'clock at night. Super Showdown went off the air, and I really didn't get 2 fucks, and I hope none of you did too. Super Showdown was a waste of time. But if you really want people to stay, building great storylines, building great characters. One of the biggest things that that's missing from WWE nowadays is like the memorable promo. Ric Flair with his tear in my eye. This is the greatest day of my life when he won the WWE Championship. Hard Times from Dustin Rhodes. The Paradigm Shift one that Jon Moxley just put on after All Elite Wrestling. Those are memorable promos. WWE doesn't have a memorable promo guy anymore because everyone's so heavily scripted. Goldberg had his promo this week unscripted completely. It was all just coming from him. And gee, I heard how great that promo was. Brian Alvarez praised it. Other people praised it. It's like, damn, that was a good promo. You know why it was a good promo? Because it came from Goldberg himself. A guy who was never a promo guy in WCW. This guy was just a guy who goes out there, kicks ass, takes names, doesn't even have to cut a promo. What did we get? We got a good promo on Tuesday. That's what happens when you actually have trust in somebody and give them free rein to cut a promo. WWE should go back to the bullet points where, yeah, you can't just have people go out there and try and just shoot off the mouth. You need to go talk about, okay, Goldberg versus Undertaker. Goldberg, you're going to Saudi Arabia. You against the Undertaker. He said he doesn't want the he doesn't want the family Goldberg. Go. And there you go. And Goldberg gave you a good promo. Other people should be there too. Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and others do not get to shine. I hear how Roman Reigns is has like the most charisma in the back, but he doesn't get to show it because WWE just writes everything for him and scripts everything for him. We don't get to see the real Roman Reigns, the real Joe RY, because Roman is just scripted through and through. It's just, and anybody hasn't seen it yet, I'll probably play it later or tomorrow. Jon Moxley cut a promo on Joey Janela for Fighter Fest, and he cut a hell of a promo. Is it as good as his one after Double or Nothing? No. Is it memorable? Not really. But it's like just showing that he is ready to like spread his wings. And yes, Jon Moxley versus Juice Robinson was a damn good match. I did watch Best of the Super Juniors, majority of it live. I did fall asleep during the right after Juice and Jon Moxley, so I didn't get to really see Will Ospreay win the Best of the Super Juniors until yesterday. So I'm going to say that it was one hell of a match for Juice Robinson and Jon Moxley. They beat the living fuck out of each other. Definitely worth the 4.5-star match that Dave Meltzer gave it. Moving on here, we have several NXT stars having their names changed. The following WWE NXT stars have officially received new names. And most of these, One of them, people are just throwing their hands up in the air. It's like, why did they change his name? Adrian Jaoud is now Arturo Ruas. Don't know how you're going to work that one in. That's just as bad as Dominik Dijakovic, and how many times I'm sure I wasn't the only one to mess that name up. Jesse Allenban is now Jesse Kamea. I don't know what the significance is of the last name. Luke Menzies is now known as Ridge Holland. Okay, that's fine. Trevor Lee is now Cameron Grimes, and the one that everyone is just going and flipping their shit about is Eric Bugenhagen is now Rick Buggs, which has been a work in progress. What people need to realize is that WWE doesn't just go out and just willy-nilly name somebody. Everyone gets a sheet of paper and it's like, write down suggestions for names for us to change your name. And I'm sure Eric Bugenhagen had Rick Buggs on, and he's like, they were like, that one's good. Adrian Jaoud probably had Arturo Ruas. Jesse Allenbauer, just Jesse Kamea. Which, like, Cameron Grimes, I would like to know, like, Trevor Lee, it's just, like, it is a generic name. Trevor Lee, it's just kind of generic and not something that fits, like, a WWE mold. But Cameron Grimes, that's definitely a more notable name. I just wanted to see what his gimmick's going to be. Just like Punishment Martinez is now Damian Priest, which I like the name Damian Priest, especially if he's a dark figure in NXT. It will fit his name. So it'd be great to see what happens with Damian Priest. He has been heavily hyped at TAKEOVER and this past Wednesday on NXT because they show the Prodeo package all the time. So that would be interesting to see. I know DJZ also got a new name, so does Shane Strickland. I don't have those off of me right now, but I know they also got names. This is nothing new. DJZ is not a... He's a known-ish name, but he's not like a Matt Riddle or Keith Lee or Ricochet or an Adam Cole. Some guys get lucky, some guys don't. Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong all got to keep their names because of their cult following. Like AJ Styles was up on the main roster, got to keep his name. Samoa Joe. Kevin Owens did not, but he did get to pretty much pay homage to Owen Hart, who his son is named after. So that's why he's Kevin Owens. So anyone's like, oh, how could they name Adrian Jaoud Arturo Ruas? That's Arturo Ruas. That's probably from his list of names. Same thing with Luke Menzies. Ridge Holland is a lot better, in my opinion, because Luke Menzies does not sound like a wrestler's name. And that's what NXT is for. Now, of course, we could get up to main roster and you can bring Jessie Kamea up and they just chop off Kamea and she's Jessie again, which she was just being called Jessie on NXT the last time we saw her. Or we could have Rick, like, that's the thing. Eric Bugenhagen could have been all through NXT, been Eric Bugenhagen. We get to the main roster and it's like, coming down the aisle, Bugenhagen, because they chopped off Eric, and it's like, why? So they're just doing their best to try and get this to stay as much as they can. WWE Star says he couldn't get fired if he tried. This one is absolutely something I'm not surprised about. Big E took to Twitter a couple days ago and responded to a fan's tweet on how he carries himself on Twitter. The big man of the New Day has had recent tweets from everything from possibly hooking up with the mother of Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch to pitching the idea of streaming erotica during Raw's third hour to an adult exchange with porn star Tanya Tate. The fan tweeted about how he is worried for Big E's career based on the recent Twitter behavior. Big E responded and said he couldn't get fired from WWE if he tried. The fan wrote, after Big E's exchange with Tate, on one hand, I'd absolutely love Big E being himself on Twitter. On the other hand, his last month on Twitter has me scared for his career. Please don't go. Please don't go. You're the little only highlight on the new, on highlight of WWE next to Bray Wyatt now. At least secure the position at AEW first. Big E had one of the best responses I think anyone can have. Like the episode of Seinfeld where George purposely gets stains on Babe Ruth's jersey and drags a World Series trophy through the parking lot. I couldn't get fired if I tried. Big E is currently out of action, but it is just reported that he made the trip to Saudi Arabia for the Super Showdown, and there was that. I absolutely 100% believe that. Why is that? WWE is scared of releasing anybody. They don't want to fire anybody. Not like Big E can, unless Big E murdered somebody, which I don't think he's going to ever do. He's not getting fired for anything unless it's something that would damage the company. And Big E just being the troll that he is on Twitter, he's just being a troll. That's all he's doing is just being a troll. That's all he's doing. No harm, no foul. They're not going to fire anybody. Anybody who wants to go out there and try and do something to get fired, it's not going to happen. If you want to leave the company, the only way you're going to get out of this company at this time is A, the sponsors pressure WWE to fire you, or B, you let your contract run out. That is it. That is absolutely it. There is nothing else you can do because WWE does not want anyone to go anywhere. Speaking of that, if I can find it, WWE does not want new talent going anywhere as wrestlers being signed to new NXT contracts are now receiving 5-year deals according to the Wrestling newsletter. Most beginner talents have been receiving 3-year deals when they first signed. The idea is that WWE is trying to lock talent in to where it's a long time before they can test the waters as a free agent, according to The Observer. WWE has been aggressive in signing talent for the NXT for more than a year now, and it's believed that they will continue signing new talent for the indies in the sports world now that AEW and other promotions are actively pursuing wrestlers. Anybody who thinks WWE is not scared, there's your proof right there. They are absolutely terrified. You're signing new talent. It could be a football, like a NFL failure to a contract to the WWE. Maybe they got injured. Maybe they can't play football anymore. And you're signing them to a 5-year deal. Even if they don't work out, you have them on the hook for 5 years. Is that just a little ridiculous? Years ago, there used to be a thing called the like summer cleaning, like spring cleaning. They would around this time, WWE would release 10 to 15 superstars. They would do it this time, and I believe they would do it around Survivor Series. They would do 2 releases like that a year. They stopped doing that because they were letting talent go, and talent would go everywhere. That's just WWE trying to protect themselves. The only thing I would say about people signing new contracts, I would be very careful with what's going into the wording of your contract, because after what Jon Moxley did on Talk Is Jericho and what Dustin Rhodes has said on Talk Is Jericho, I would have my lawyer look through these contracts, because I guarantee you WWE is going to start putting NDAs in there that are for 6 to 8 months or a year before you can actually say something. NDA is, of course, a non-disclosure agreement, so if you get fired or you leave the company, you cannot say anything. So that is that. WWE is scared. Anybody who thinks otherwise, you are fooling yourself. Vince McMahon is scared, and he's going to remain scared, because if he wasn't scared of AEW, if he wasn't scared of Ring of Honor, New Japan, or anywhere else, people who've been asking for the release would probably, not all of them, but most of them would probably get the release. Bad news for Mickie James. Has been confirmed that she will undergo surgery for a torn ACL. That sucks. I've never had a torn ACL, but I've had my knee in a cast for another reason. Not going to get into it. But for her being out for 6 months, like, that's going to be 6 to 9 months, 9 to 12 months right there. She's going to be out for the rest of the year. Hasn't been used much anyway, except for on house shows. I guess she's she's used a lot more on house shows than she is on TV. So that's a loss for the house show circuit. Mickie suffered an apparent knee injury at last Saturday's WWE live event in Waco, Texas, during a singles loss to Carmella that ended abruptly after James went down. F4W Online now confirms that Mickie was injured during the match. F4W Online then confirmed that Mickie was out of action with the knee injury, as the injury was listed on WWE's internal injury report in the next night in College Station, Texas, where she was replaced by Zelina Vega. James was checked on by a trainer at the ringside on Saturday, but did leave on her own with minor assistance. In an update, Mickie James confirmed on Instagram that she underwent an MRI this week, and that she was determined that she had suffered an ACL injury. She said, and I quote, "I don't know how long I'm going to be out. I don't know when I'm going to have to get surgery, but it's going to be a while." And that is that. All I gotta say is Mickie James, one of the all-time greats of WWE's women's division, Impact Wrestling's women's division. Get better and speedy recovery to you. Sucks when you get an injury. Even if she's not being used on TV, she's out there working her butt off on the house show circuits, live show circuits, whatever you want to call it. And she's going to be out for a while. WWE's injury bug has been hitting them all year. Nia Jax out for a while. Ruby Riot's going to be out for the entire year, and then some with 2 shoulder surgeries. Mickie James, just to name a few. People want to sit there and say this shit's not real, this shit is fake, this shit is just whatever. People put their bodies on the line and get injured every single day, every single week, month, and year. Moving on here, big names featured in some promotional material for 2K20. 2K and WWE are currently working on promotional material for the WWE 2K20 video game that comes out later this year. A commercial for the game is said to be similar to the NFL 100 commercial for the recent Super Bowl events. If you don't know what I'm talking about, they had a commercial where it was like a big banquet, and you had Roger Goodell on stage saying congratulations to 100 years of the NFL. Ninja had a cameo in it. If you don't know who Ninja is, but there was a big white cake with a football on top of it. One of the guys tried to grab a piece of cake and trying to stretch over and grab some cake with his hand. The football fell down, and everyone was scrambling for the football. That's pretty much all that is. According to WrestleVotes, the ad reportedly features WWE Hall of Famers Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, and Steve Austin, plus other current superstars and legends. It also noted that 2K spent mega money on the spot. It recently reported that Hogan and Sasha Banks were among those filming material for the game and perhaps the promotional material. It is believed 2K will officially announce 2K20 on Monday, June 24th. A digital deluxe collector's edition will reportedly be released on Tuesday, October 1st, and then the standard release will take place on October 5th. These dates should be confirmed later this month in an official 2K announcement. Hey 2K, let me just say something to you. I don't care how much money you put into a spot. That money should be going to making the game work, making the game better. I don't care who you brought in. You could you could get the money to resurrect Andre the Giant for the fucking commercial, and it's not gonna matter. If the game sucks, if the gameplay is glitchy as can be, if I'm seeing Asuka have her hands behind her back and her just walk forward and continue to just walk forward into a barricade, that's not acceptable. If the storyline sucks, if the universe mode is terrible, if you take things out that people want in there, if you don't add in things that people want in there, who cares? Oh my god, look at this awesome commercial. If the game sucks, then why should anybody invest their time? Pretty much, in my opinion, it's just going to be a waste of money. Why? And this one is funny. This one is just WWE's foolishness. Why is TakeOver carded on the same day as Royal Quest and All Out? WWE announced the date of the next UK TakeOver event, and plenty of the fans had to do a double take because WWE planned the event to take place on the same day as AEW's All Out and New Japan's Royal Quest show in London. It turns out that WWE thought they were making a good decision because they had inside information. Apparently, they didn't do all their research in this instance. According to the Super J cast, WWE had someone in the ticket agency that was feeding them information. Vince McMahon, one company, wanted to know how many tickets New Japan sold for the London Royal Quest event. Unfortunately, WWE was only getting tickets numbers from one agency that New Japan was using. Per UK source, WWE had a spy in one of the ticket agencies mandated by Copperbox. New Japan Pro Wrestling were using for Royal Quest saw that New Japan had only sold 2,000 tickets, but didn't realize they had a second agency, and the total sales were 5,000 plus. WWE thought sales were bad, saw money on the table, didn't do the research on competing events. There is a rugby match with Wales, and I can't remember who they're facing, but Wales is in a huge rugby match, I believe, at home on that same day, and rushed in around March. Now WWE is facing a situation with twice as many wrestling fans as they thought already committed to going to Royal Quest. Oh, here it is. And hugely inflated Cardiff hotel costs due to Wales v Ireland World Cup warm-up rugby game, at least 100 per night. You have got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. Who thought this was a good idea? WWE really just screwing up. How could you be so stupid? This is stupid. There's people, like, if rugby is on, Royal Quest could not be happening. It's in London, by the way. If Royal Quest wasn't even happening this day, WWE would have a struggle to even get these tickets sold. Why? Because rugby is more popular in Cardiff, Wales than WWE UK. For sure. 110%. This was a bad move. It would not surprise me if they have to reschedule this because of bad ticket sales, even though they'll say something else to make it up. This was stupid. And yes, hotel costs are going to go up due to Wales versus Ireland. Royal Quest is going to have, if the rugby match is sold out, people already sold like 5,000 plus tickets to Royal Quest. I'm sure it's like 6,000 or so now. This is just how stupid they get. They did not do their research. If you're going to be planning something like this, you want to do a big event, like even if you're not in the wrestling business, if you're just a promoter of one size or like of anything, music, video games, like a convention or something, do your research to make sure nothing else is going on around you. Royal Quest, this is just pettiness too. Absolute pettiness. Oh, they only sold 2,000 tickets. There is so much money. So much money we can get off of this. No, there's not. Yes, tickets are on sale right now, but I guarantee you they're not selling as fast as they hoped it would. NXT UK is not up to where NXT is. In my opinion, they're not up to where they could be able to do many takeovers a year. They had one in January in Blackpool. This one's in Cardiff, which I'm sure if they can get Tegan Knox back, I'm sure if she's on there, they could sell a couple more tickets because a lot of people are fans of Tegan Knox. She is from Wales, so that would be a good place for her to make her return. Is in Cardiff, Wales, for a shot against Toni Storm. Doesn't mean she has to win, but I could see her being back in NXT for that show. This is just an oversight by WWE and absolute stupidity. And I'm just going to sit there and laugh and laugh and laugh when we get to NXT TakeOver UK, and they're giving away tickets just to get this building sold out. Again, if you want to take anything from this, if you're a promoter, if you're somebody who wants to get into the promoting business, do your research before you pick up a building. They could have probably went anywhere else in the UK. They probably could have went anywhere else in the UK. Not Cardiff, Wales. Probably not even Ireland. You could have probably went to Leeds or somewhere else, and I guarantee you would have got a better chance at this. But yeah, not a good move by WWE. Moving away from WWE, we're going to go to Impact Wrestling, as a former Cruiserweight champion made his Impact Wrestling return at the last made his Impact Wrestling return. Former Cruiserweight champion TJP is currently was at the backstage tapings for Impact Wrestling in New York City. TJP will be returning to action for the company at the tapings, according to the new report from PW Insider. There's no word yet on who will be doing, but we will keep you updated. TJP previously worked for Impact TNA off and on from 2004 to 2013, then returned from 2013 to 16 and worked as Manic Suicide. The former TNA X Division champion left in WWE in late February of this year after requesting his release. He had been with WWE since 2016. I have a funny story to talk about TJP. Back when it came out that he was Suicide, which was stupid as fuck because nobody fucking bought it. The fact that, this guy, TJP, which was not really a big known name at the time, this guy was Suicide. This was the guy who replaced Christopher Daniels, and Kazarian, I believe, played him as well too at one time, and replaced everybody else who was Suicide. Bullshit. Well, I went off on him not taking. I actually said on Twitter once. I never expected him to say anything to me. I don't have the tweets anymore because it's on a Twitter account I don't use anymore. But I said something to the fact is, I wish you would take your job seriously, and he would respond, and we had a little back and forth, and then a bunch of other people yelled at me, and I was like, okay, I just got into it with TJP. I thought that was pretty funny. It was the first time I actually had somebody who was a professional wrestler of some kind interact with me in any way, shape, or form. I just thought it was fun. So, if he goes there and he works great, good for him. Guy was given an opportunity to be the first ever Cruiserweight champion because pretty much the only reason he was the first ever new generation Cruiserweight champion was because Kota Ibushi and Zack Sabre Jr. said no to full-time deals with WWE. The finals of the Cruiserweight Classic was not supposed to be Grand Metalik versus TJP. By the time they got to the semifinals, WWE was fucked because that entire tournament was supposed to be built around building up Kota Ibushi. That entire tournament, had he signed a deal, was to build Kota Ibushi into the next big Cruiserweight star for WWE. Him and Zack Sabre Jr. made the best decisions of their life and said no. They went to Japan. Kota Ibushi got to team with Kenny Omega again, got to sign his first and probably only contract, because I think he has a lifetime contract with New Japan, and we went on from there. And they went, we have to take Grand Metalik and TJP and give us a finals that WWE Triple H didn't want. Yes, it was a good match, but it wasn't the finals that was supposed to be. Everyone knows it was supposed to be Zack Sabre Jr. versus Kota Ibushi. Had WWE known that they weren't going to sign when the tournament started, they probably would have been out after the first or second round, plain and simple. But the fact that they didn't get him signed and they didn't even have a chance, they didn't get the answer they wanted, then that is that. WWE screwed up big time with TJP. They gave him this video game vibe. He was the video gamer guy. He went out there. He became Cruiserweight champion. He held it for a little bit, lost it to Brian Kendrick, and then just fell down the card. Was there when the Cruiserweight division was pretty much a joke ran by Vince McMahon. Once Triple H took over, he really didn't do anything else, and he was like, "You know what? I'm not happy here, and I'm out of here. I want out." They fired him. He got his release, and now he's back in Impact Wrestling. They're under a new regime since the last time he was there. Maybe it'll be better for him. I have no idea, but we will find out very, very soon. Good luck to TJP. Just good luck to anybody, and if they're happy with what they're doing, no matter where they're at, and just be happy for them. We already talked about Goldberg's promo, how it was happy for him, how it was unscripted, how he got to just, be himself. Good for him. WWE officials are happy with Matt Riddle's social media activity. This is interesting because Matt Riddle, oh my gosh. Matt Riddle was trolling Goldberg out the entire time that terrible, terrible match with The Undertaker. Which makes me wonder why those two are even in the ring anymore. But he oh my god, he is just going bananas. But there is said to be no backstage heat on NXT superstar Matt Riddle for some of his recent social media posts. A listener recently asked Dave Meltzer on the Wrestling Observer Radio if Riddle has been getting any heat for his recent comments on Brock Lesnar and Goldberg for calling himself the King of Bros again, and Meltzer says WWE officials are happy with Riddle. He is fine. They are happy. I don't know that they actually told him to do this, but they are not unhappy that he's doing it and he's not being told to stop. Some people think that he was told to do it. I don't know if that was really the case. That's more speculation, but he certainly hasn't been told to stop. They're not unhappy at all. I've heard that they are very happy, actually, Meltzer said. On a related note, Meltzer took to Twitter this week and posted a screenshot that showed he had been blocked by Goldberg. Riddle recently commented on Goldberg versus The Undertaker at Super Showdown, and he said, and I quote, "Gee, I can't wait to watch your match this Friday so I can see how good you are at wrestling," laughing emoji 4 times. He says, "Things could be interesting in the kingdom this week as Riddle was rumored to be making the trip to Super Showdown for his 50-man Battle Royal." He did not. He actually posted a video after the match between Goldberg and... He posted a mini video on Twitter after Goldberg versus Undertaker, and it was just him, mocking their match. His Royal match was not confirmed. Goldberg has been issues with Riddle going back to before WWE signed the former UFC fighter in the summer of 2018. Riddle spoke with Brian Fritz on SportingNews.com in March 2017 and fired shots at the master of the jackhammer. And it was also one of the first interviews where Riddle started talking about Brock Lesnar. He said, and I'm not going into it, he just pretty much trashes Goldberg about not being able to wrestle, and the fact that he could, and quite honestly, if you put Matt Riddle in the ring with Brock Lesnar, Goldberg, or The Undertaker right now, those three would probably end up in a wheelchair and not be able to wrestle again. I'm just saying. Riddle repeatedly speaks out during media interviews about wanting to be the one to retire Brock Lesnar, and to one to break the beast, often tweets about Lesnar as well. It's been noted how the bro of NXT tweeted on May 31st about showing up at this week's Raw to ruin Lesnar's Money in the Bank cash-in on the Universal Championship. Riddle didn't show up and the cash-in never happened, but Lesnar did beat Rollins down and indicated that he will cash in the briefcase on Friday at Super Showdown, which he did not. Riddle took to Twitter the next morning and made storyline comments on Raw, claiming he wasn't allowed backstage. He put a picture and it says, "The face I make when they won't let me backstage at Raw, this beating up Brock Lesnar might be harder than I originally thought." And he just goes after Goldberg and everything. If you really want to make Matt Riddle a star, if you really want to make a new star for a new generation, WrestleMania 36 has to have Brock Lesnar versus Matt Riddle, and Matt Riddle goes in there and destroys Brock Lesnar. You will not find another way to build somebody up than that. Matt Riddle is just a big, huge troll when it comes to these two. He does not like Brock Lesnar, and he does not like Goldberg. But hey, to each his own. Adam Cole says if it's up to the Undisputed Era, they're not going anywhere. This stems from the fact that it's been talked that Shayna Baszler and Adam Cole could possibly be moving up to the main roster and demoted. Why would you do that? Why would you bring... Shayna Baszler should be coming up, no problem. It's just, she is better than Ronda Rousey. It kind of irked me a couple months ago when Shayna Baszler was wrestling in the NXT in Full Sail, and all you hear is Ronda's shadow. People chanting Ronda's shadow. I'm like, wait a minute, no. Ronda Rousey, I don't care what she's done on the main roster. She's in Shayna Baszler's shadow. Shayna Baszler is a better worker, a better promo, and a better at this business than Ronda Rousey. Shayna Baszler gets this business and doesn't act like a ditz who's like, oh, this isn't fair. Like, I don't know if Ronda Rousey's playing a part, like playing an idiot, or is really that stupid every time she's like, hey, ref, she can't do that. She pulled my hair. It's like, ugh. Shayna Baszler gets it. Shayna Baszler has a legit fucking character. She actually does not want to smile, period. She is a vile bitch who will take you out if you get in her face. She should be on the main roster and tearing the women's division up. Unfortunately, she doesn't have that those characteristics that Vince McMahon loves and to gush over. She doesn't have blonde hair, she doesn't have big boobs, and she doesn't have a nice round ass that Vince McMahon can fawn over in the back and jack off to. Adam Cole, I guarantee you, they brought Adam Cole up. They would do some kind of storyline where it's thought that he is the illegitimate son of Michael Cole. I guarantee you, they would have Adam Cole and Michael Cole as a family or something. They'd be like, oh God, no. Keep them in NXT. But in an interview with Sporting News, Adam Cole talks about his rapid ascension up the NXT ranks, debuting less than 2 years ago at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3. The leader of the Undisputed Era is now a Triple Crown winner. He also kept his group together through thick and thin, a rarity in WWE, unless you're the New Day. However, the Era are a natural fit together with close bonds inside and outside the ring. He says, I've been close friends with these guys for years and years. We talk literally every day. Also, another distinct thing is that these four guys made their name in Ring of Honor, of all places, so them coming into NXT would give them that bond of being that relatable bond to each other because they did pretty much do all they could in Ring of Honor. I know Roderick Strong's been in NXT a lot longer than these other three guys, but they've all been made from Ring of Honor. When asked about whether he'll stay connected to the Era as he moves through the rest of WWE, Cole seemed confident that he will. People really seem to gravitate towards a group of guys who have the same mindset, same attitude, are passionate about their job. People love groups, and they certainly have loved and attached themselves to the Undisputed Era. If it's up to us, we're not going anywhere. Yes, you can also have that on the New Day. These guys have the same mindset, the same attitude, are very passionate about what they do, even though I don't like half the stuff that they do when they act like kids. But the New Day is also another one of those groups. When Big E gets better and Kofi Kingston drops the WWE Championship, which he's going to in the next 6 months, like next 3 months or so, if you brought the entire Undisputed Era up and you wanted to have the Undisputed Era versus the New Day, those would see some excellent matches and it'd be a good way to get the Undisputed Era over. He talked about, in a full interview, he talked about defending the newly won NXT Championship and on promotions, proving that it's a true world title. He said, I worked really hard to finally get this championship, so I'm ready to be fighting champion, as well as that's certainly something I'd be more willing and more capable of doing. I would actually like to see that happen. Adam Cole going every way he can. I remember when Drew McIntyre won the WCPW Heavyweight Championship, he took it to other promotions and defended it in other promotions. Yes, I know this is WWE, but this is NXT. I can see him going to Evolve. I can see him going to Progress and ICW. That's 3 promotions right there. I think they have a promotion in Germany too that they work with, but I'm not sure on that. Keep these guys together. Like I said, when Big E gets fully healed and Kofi Kingston drops the NXT Championship, I mean not the NXT Championship, but the WWE Championship, most likely at SummerSlam, I could see the Undisputed Era coming up, all just laying waste to the New Day, and we have a feud between the Undisputed Era and the New Day. And we see matches like at Hell in a Cell, matches at Survivor Series if they wanted to, whatever you can do. The Undisputed Era versus the New Day, if you want to bring the Undisputed Era up, not just Adam Cole. You cannot just bring Adam Cole up, which I know on his own he could do. The biggest fear I would have, too, is if they brought all of them up at the same time, they would break them off within a month of each other. They would break them off. It would be a shell of them former selves, and they would just be broken up like that. Moving on to the AEW news that we have for today. Moxley talks that awkward interview with Stone Cold Steve Austin that he had back in 2016 when he was the WWE Champion. That was pretty much, I think, the beginning of the end of Dean Ambrose in WWE. Jon Moxley continued to give insight on his time in WWE as part of 2 of his interview with Wade Keller, Pro Wrestling Podcast. Moxley opened about why his infamous appearance on the Steve Austin podcast went so sour. He said, "It was weird. I don't remember it being very good. A very good interview. I was really looking forward to it. I went in there on my day off to do this. I'm like, cool, we're going to talk wrestling." This also confirms that every single podcast that you saw on the Steve Austin show was taped the night before, at least. It's just obvious that those weren't live, because it was on an episode of It was supposed to be on the night after, like right after Monday Night Raw went off the air. Moxley went on to elaborate on exactly what sort of question he was being asked. In Moxley's opinion, after just beginning the podcast, the questions asked were not related to wrestling and therefore turned him off the interview. The producer guy, Adam Panucci, I remember he called me a week before to prep. Moxley mentioned he was trying to ask me all these super personal deep questions about my fucking childhood. I was like, it's kind of none of your business, man. I'm not going to say some shit about people who don't have the same form, who aren't there to defend themselves. People from my family, yeah, my family is good. I don't want to drag up shit on national TV. It's not fair to them, but within 5 seconds, I'm getting these fucking questions. I don't remember what they were, and he asked me something that pissed me off, and I just mentally shut down. Moxley said despite loving Steve Austin, Austin's responses didn't sit well with him. Moxley also brought up his heavy workload and ruthless schedule and how it interfered with his ability to speak freely about WWE with Austin. I fucking love Steve, Moxley professed. If that were a regular interview, I would have hung up on him. I think he wanted me to say what I'm saying to you right now. Like, bury the shit out of this. Everything at the time. I'm doing double shots. I'm working this first match of one show, hopping on a private plane and doing the last match on another show. I've been doing this for 600 days straight. I'm beat to the fucking shit. I'm working my ass off and I'm dealing with these scripts and these crappy character things. Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley, from 2006, like 2015 to 2018 when he got injured, worked way too much. He worked, as he said, opened the show on one show, got on a plane, went somebody else. If somebody went down, Vince McMahon would call up Dean Ambrose. He would go off and work that spot. He put his body through hell. He probably shortened his career just for working this grueling schedule that he had to for WWE. I'm not the only one of the boys who was suffering with those. A whole generation is suffering with this. And guys like Steve will be like, why don't you just go off script and do an Austin 316? The whole situation is different than when you were here. You could just say Austin 316, I got a dumb fucking script. It's just different. I'm trying to make the best of this and I can't go all this on Austin's podcast. I'm trying to stand up for my generation and the boys. It was a stopping point. I just wanted to talk about wrestling because me and him both love wrestling. Moxley, now free from WWE, said he would like to return to Austin's podcast this time around. Moxley said they could talk about whatever they like. But I love Steve, he said. He's one of my favorites, but now I can go on his podcast and say whatever I want, so hit me up, Steve. So yeah, not surprised. I figured that entire interview felt like it was just like scripted and nothing. It didn't feel genuine. It felt like he was checked out 5 minutes into that interview. It just felt like he wasn't even mentally there anymore. Like he was just going through the motions, and he was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm just going to be as generic as I can be. It'll be very interesting to see when Jon Moxley's on Steve Austin's podcast this time around, which Steve Austin, I believe his podcast is coming back later this month or the beginning of next month. So we'll have to wait and see. Speaking of the Chris Jericho interview that Jon Moxley did last week, he talked about a line that was about Roman Reigns that was so terrible that he would not repeat it on TV, and the person who came up with it should be ashamed of themselves. Somebody decided that they were going to make a lie and say what Chris Jericho, who was told the line by Jon Moxley, was saying to other people backstage at Double or Nothing. Moxley wouldn't repeat the line during the podcast, he promised. Let's see him. A Reddit user recently claimed that Jericho was telling people backstage at Double or Nothing that Moxley refused to say a line about how God was going to kill Reigns. He claimed Jericho repeated the following line that Moxley refused to say. I don't know who of a dead man walking, Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns. The only difference is I'm going to kill Seth Rollins and God is going to kill Roman. First and foremost, that is absolutely despicable if whoever came up with that, because I know, no, it was a total lie, because Chris Jericho did come out on Twitter and deny and claim. He said, total lie. I believe Jericho over a Reddit user like that. But if that line was ever pitched to anybody for Roman Reigns, like the Roman Reigns thing, you need to be fucking just sent out back and shot in a hole and your body set on fire, because that's absolutely despicable. If that wasn't the line, I would hate to know what the actual line is. Dustin Rhodes compares WWE to prison. During his post-Starrcast Q&A session with Inside the Ropes, Kenny McIntosh, Dustin Rhodes, discussed the process behind him leaving WWE. Rhodes has had 5 different stints with the company dating all the way back to 1990, with many believing that he is gone for good. He said, and I quote, "I love professional wrestling. It is my first love. For the past 4 years with WWE, I kind of lost my passion. Let's face it, you're in the back and you're not doing anything, and it's just really hard when you have so much to give, but time is running out because you're getting older. You're pitching these ideas to the writers, creative, Vince, and whoever else will listen, but nothing happens. It's like, oh well, we'll put you in a backstage entrance standing in the hallway while Goldberg makes his fucking entrance. Okay, thanks, but no thanks. I'd rather be doing something with substance on the show with a storyline." See, people who love professional wrestling would give that kind of answer. There are people in the back who be like, yeah, sure, at least I'm being seen on TV. I wanted out, and it was hard to get out. It's like prison. It really is. It's one of the prisons. It's one of the prisons where they take good care of you, but I needed to do something else, man. It'd been there for so long. They had taken good care of me, but I needed to get out and breathe and find my passion again. This fell in my lap. AEW with my brother. When you push for something so hard and for so long, they look you dead in the eye and tell you that it's not good enough to be on the big show. It fucking pissed me off. It pissed me off because I knew in my heart of hearts they were wrong. And yes, they proved it at Double or Nothing. That match between Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes at Double or Nothing, if that would have been the match we got at WrestleMania, if they were actually given that freedom to do that, then WrestleMania that year, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, would have had one of the best matches of the year for them, but they didn't do that. They were like, nope, you're going to have it up Fastlane, Dustin's going to roll up Stardust, and that's that. Honestly, in my opinion, I'm glad that WWE fucked up and did not give him that match, because then we got it 2 weekends ago, and all of us should be happy with what we got then. So this one's from Talk is Jericho. From Goldust to Seven to the American Nightmare. Dustin Rhodes has been many different gimmicks and looks over the years. He debuted a new look against his brother at Double or Nothing, and Dustin credits Cody with helping inspiring his new costume. Dustin talked about his look at Double or Nothing when he joined Talk is Jericho. Me and Cody were talking about it, and we were like, what do we do? He didn't want just Dustin. He had his vision of what he wanted, and he kind of left it in the ballpark of me and my faith to create something for my face, to Dustin. I had asked him what he was looking for. Did he want me in trunks? Did he want me in jeans? Did he want me in the old Dustin Rhodes gear? He said no. He didn't want the cowboy Carney ass bullshit. He said that he really wanted me to look the very best that I could. Dustin said his look was a combination of previous costumes and a new design. He said he worked his tail off to get him in the best shape he could in order to go sleeveless. But he also said Cody is the only Rhodes with abs. He said that it was the artist on the paint and all that stuff to come up with something. I did it. I showed him some pictures. He loved it, and Tony Khan loved it, and that was it. I looked at the Darth Maul character from Star Wars as well. One of the paint jobs that I did for Goldust was kind of Darth Maul-ish. But if I did the Darth Maul like Darth Maul, I just reversed the color and reversed the color so that it wouldn't be a complete rip-off of Darth Maul. I just had a little bit here and a little bit there. I think I came off looking pretty good. Dustin donned the crimson mask during the match and left himself Cody in the ring covered in blood. He was a bit nervous about being so much blood at first, but in the end, all the blood helped tell the story between he and his brother. I know a lot of people were worried. You're damn straight we were worried. I'm sitting there like, they gotta stop the match. He's bleeding so much. That mat looks so terrible, man. Like, I noticed that for the last matches and everything, they changed the mat, luckily. So whatever they did with that one, I'm sure they pitched it somewhere or cut it up and pitched it somewhere. I know a lot of people were worried. I was worried. You do it and you saw it streaming out and it's like, oh no, I went a little bit too deep, and then 10 minutes go by and you're like, now I'm starting to worry a bit. Kind of admitting that he bladed because he did in his post-match interview say that Randy hit him with Cody's wolf cane, and that's what caused the blood. But this right here pretty much tells you that he bladed. Of course, we all knew that. Dustin admitted, the ring is all red. I can't see. It's all in my eyes. I'm trying to wipe it out, but it just keeps shooting out to my heartbeat. It gets scary, but then about 15 minutes, I'm like, I'm going to be okay. It's going to be fine. You saw the fans' faces in front row and in the arena. They were just horrified, but into it. They can't take their eyes off of it. It was incredible, man. I was so happy. I was so glad to be part of that, and I hope I did Cody proud. To me, I've always been told that red on the head is green in the pocket. I believe that has been true to an extent where it is used sparingly here and there. It was just right in every way that night. It must have been a little bit excessive, but it added to the story. It added to the position and the emotions, and it just felt incredibly, and I'm still a huge high from this match. Twitter has never blown up for me like that, and all social media is going crazy. And to tell me that I stole the show from the great Chris Jericho, that means a lot. Yeah. Well, Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega had the problem with following two great matches with Dusty and Cody, and of course the tag team title match. That made his match with Kenny Omega hard. But yes, Dustin Rhodes comparing WWE to a prison. Absolutely. Especially if you're injured and you're like, okay, my contract's coming up. I got another 6 months to go and I'm going to be out of here. Oh, no. You were out for 4 months. You're getting 4 months tacked on, so you're here for 10 more months. Pretty much so. It's like you're a prisoner who was in there for bad behavior, or just it's funny because while I'm looking at Twitter, people were comparing Vince McMahon to Al Davis. I found that completely hilarious. Al Davis, of course, was the owner of the Raiders before he died, I think recently, a couple years ago. And he was getting a lot of money for the TV deals, but was putting a crap product on the field. That's exactly what WWE is. WWE is misusing their characters, misusing their players, and people who want to get out, they're locking them behind longer contracts. People just getting signed to NXT are getting locked behind 5-year deals instead of 2 or 3-year deals. And WWE is just becoming a big max prison. One of those prisons that you see where it's the prisoners get they get their own cells, they have padded beds, they have everything they need, and it's just pretty much getting spoiled with as much money as they can. I am exactly 100% yeah. WWE is practically a prison, and it sucks because, yes, Mercedes KV wants to come out and not be Sasha Banks anymore. Brody Lee does not want to be Luke Harper anymore. I'm pretty sure they both want to go off and do other things, and WWE is not going to allow them until their contract is done. Brody Lee will be able to be Brody Lee again around WrestleMania next year. Mercedes will not be able to be Mercedes again until probably 2021, 2022, something like that. She signed a contract, re-signed a contract last year, which was before they were doing 5-year deals, so she might be out in 3 years. But it's yes, if you're signed to WWE and you're just sitting there doing nothing, you pretty much signed yourself up to pretty much prison time. You go in, you do nothing, and you get paid for it. And that's just pretty much how WWE is. Update on Double or Nothing pay-per-view buys, as we talked about last week. They were almost double or more of what All In did. The latest edition of Wrestling Observer newsletter has revealed how many pay-per-view buys the All Elite Wrestling Double or Nothing did. According to the estimates, it has done between 98,500 and 113,000 buys worldwide. The vast majority of these happened with the United States, as the best estimate saw 71,000 of them coming domestically. Another interesting note is that the pay-per-views were equally bought between Bleacher Report Live and traditional television providers. That is a rare occurrence in the pay-per-view industry, as they typically slanted in favor of television providers up to 85% or more. This shows the AEW's younger fan base in that they're hitting an internet-savvy crowd. That is definitely the thing taking out of this, is the fact that when WWE Network first launched, it was bad. Like, watching that, like, when you watch that first NXT Arrival live, and the Tyler Breeze was coming out, and the feed kept skipping back to when Tyler Breeze's ponytail was showing up on the screen, and just kept doing that over and over. That first NXT event, you'd have to go back and watch on tape just to be able to watch it all the way through. It was that bad. A lot of people for WrestleMania in 2014 were saying, you know what, I'm going to buy the pay-per-view. I'm not doing the network just because of how bad the Arrival went and how much I don't trust WWE's network yet. I'm buying the pay-per-view. This was AEW's first show, and they went 50-50. 50-50. That's crazy. You are not going to sign that anywhere else. A company, a wrestling company, that first show on pay-per-view, they bought 50 on pay-per-view, 50% of it was pay-per-view, not traditional pay-per-view, and the other 50% was streaming on a streaming service. That's just mind-blowing. Crazy. But that's what it is. Oh, yeah. That is the news for today. But there is a nice little interview that came up for Jon Moxley that I do have the whole transcript for it. We're going to go over that tomorrow. Plus, we will go over Juice Robinson versus Jon Moxley, where Jon Moxley is the new IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion. The Minion is going to be going on as well Sunday morning. I will have a review probably going up for the entire Dominion later on in the day, Sunday afternoon. But make sure to hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Find me on Twitter and Twitch at The Frauds Club, and I will see you guys tomorrow for everything Jon Moxley and a couple of other things as well. Until then, my name is The Frauds, and I will see you guys later.